Alright, hello everyone, my name is Boulevard, and as promised, I am here today with a VOD review of the finals of the Saturday Scramble between EMEA legend Sorry and World's top 8 competitor from the Americas, Mati24Mayo. Mati, fresh off of a 65th place finish at the Runeterra Open, did manage to waitlist his way into the top 64. Running some odd decks, and again, we are going to see some odd decks out of Mati here today. So, just so we're all clear, I'm adding the deck lists to this screen in post, so I'm not sure what that's going to look like. But first, I want to get the ban decks for each player out of the way. Mati going with Alawi Jarvan. This is what Sorry decided to ban. Just kind of wanted to flash it on screen to show you that, like, you know, not the most standard I've ever seen. The Riposte, I think, is an interesting tech choice given the mid-range nature of the meta, so I like that tech. And then Jaceheimer was the ban on Sorry's lineup. So Sorry's Jaceheimer is banned, Mati's Alawi Jarvan is banned. Nothing crazy out of this Jaceheimer. I know a lot of people haven't been as big on this list since Thermogenic Beam rotated, but I think that, like, a lot of people are coming around to just how good, like, Mystic Shot High Note decks are. And I know Withering Whale rotated, but I think with the high rise of Bandle Gunners that is coming out, we might see Caustic Rift coming back into decks like these. Not playing any copies this weekend is Sorry. But now let's talk about the decks that the players actually are going to get to play. So starting off with, I don't know if this is going to fit on the screen, but this Seraphine Targon coming out of Mati. And I'm not going to lie, I've been waiting for a Cosmic Youngling deck for a while. I've run into it a couple of times on ladder. It has always been really, really bad when my opponents play it, but I think they're just kind of like throwing it in decks that shouldn't exist. I do like it in this Seraphine build, though. Now, Mati didn't go for a second champion, which I don't have a particularly strong opinion on. You know, normally, like, Victor and Vi and Aphelios would round out a deck like this, but with those champs being rotated, I really don't hate Mati's decision to just forego those entirely. The Moon Dreamer that has been recently buffed coming in is, you know, definitely interesting. So I'm curious to see if that plays an impact here. Speaking of Celestial Impact in the list as well as the Sunburst, so getting just a lot of high-end removal in this list that we didn't really have before. And I'm not going to lie, given the current meta, given the idea that, like, Aatrox and Deep and these really tall units are a bit of a hindrance, then yeah, I actually can get behind Celestial Impact for probably the first time in my life. The second deck out of Mati that we actually are going to get to see is the same deck that he ran to the top 64 at the Runeterra Open, which is this Mono Jace Sentinel control. I mean, it's basically Jaceheimer in terms of, like, it is a Shadow Isle Piltover and Zon deck that plays a lot of removal and has a little bit more of a proactive strategy than you might expect. You know, obviously we don't have, like, Production Surge to go crazy, but Sentinel control is an archetype that's been around for quite some time, and this is just, I guess, the most recent adaptation of it because Mati's the only person that seems to be doing anything with it or even willing to try it. Then on the side of Sorry, we've got Nora Vygar. I know that I was pretty okay with the idea of Nora control coming into the weekend. I wasn't sure if players were going to be focusing more on, like, Nora Nar Broadmain or if we were going to stick with the more classic Nora Vygar. I know in the previous meta, you know, right before the balance patch hit, people were kind of going back to, like, Vygar Senna. So it looks like we have returned to Nora Vygar. Mini-Morph in the main. Again, if I like Celestial Impact, I'm definitely going to like Mini-Morph. So excited to see what comes out of this. I think Pytos is a really cool card. You know, it's no pokey stick, but it is what it is. And then Vanequin Aatrox, which I expected to see a lot more of out of the other VODs that I've been looking at. Now, I haven't seen Sorry and Mati's match. I didn't watch any of the other matches from the Saturday Scramble, so I don't know how popular Vanequin Aatrox was, but I think this is one of the focal points of the meta. So we'll see how Mati can stack up against this since he did leave it unbanned. So let's get into the gameplay. Okay, once again, I have this advantage bar off on the side where, oh, not that, where I will be sort of at a glance denoting who I think is winning if I can remember to use it. Let me go ahead and lower. Actually, I can keep my desktop audio where it was, so I don't have to screw with that later. But yeah, maybe you guys will pick up a little bit of ambient noise here. So as far as I understand it, this stream was a solo run from Cash, so we're only going to be able to get one hand. But it will be the Vayne Aatrox up against the Sentinel control. So as far as the tools in the deck for Mati to deal with this, we've got a Ruination in here, just want to point that out. Triple Vengeance, Piercing Darkness, Triple Formula could be a bit of an issue. You don't always get great opportunities to cast that. Triple Soul Harvest, Double Quietus, Ceaseless Sentry. Yeah, nothing too crazy. This is looking like it could definitely be a good matchup for Sorry. You know, Quietus cool. Vengeance, awesome. But one of the problems that you run into as a control deck a lot is just getting overwhelmed by the amount of weapons that are going to come out in, like, the Darken in the late game. And with only 2 Quietus and, like, no Hexbliterator, I think is sort of, like, the big thing here. So Vayne comes out. That's not an issue. They've got the Soul Harvest, but, yeah, looking like they want to get as many Sentinels online before they go for that. Now, Sorry has an option for a punish with a weapon. It is going to be the case, so it's going to be a bit of damage coming through. A greedy line from Mati, but I think just, like, willing to take that damage in the early game in order to get sort of the perfect kill onto the Vayne, but now Soul Harvest off the table. Going to have to be Aftershock. Luckily, do have Mystic Shot / High Note if there is a form-up coming out of Sorry. Catch could be a little awkward, as that's not as, like, high impact of a hit, but again, like, the High Note's there. Alright, Vayne goes down, Sentinels are online, and now it's 8 clapping back at Sorry. Looking at Sorry's list here. Okay, blocking Badger Bear. That's a better sacrifice than, like, a Ranger Knight Defector, so I don't think Sorry's going to be too upset to, like, get that off the board. And, you know, Sorry has weapon advantage, has probably a smoother curve than Mati, who, like, I mean, what are they going to do? It's either, like, float Soul Harvest, which probably doesn't work, or play Jace. Quietus is an important pickup. Quietus is a super important pickup. Sorry has a lot of potential to get punished here, and has the read that Mati doesn't have Quietus because they've been floating mana the whole time. That they've had, like, when they threw the weapon on the Vayne, there was no Quietus. So if you're going to go in with this Ranger Knight, you have to Quietus. Or, you have to play the weapon. So Quietus value, absolutely insane here. That is going to be advantage bar sort of going up for Mati here, as this Ranger Knight has effectively been turned off, and this is supposed to be one of your big pressure points against these control decks. Yeah, send it in anyway. You know, trade it for the Jace. Jace has quick attack. You might as well get it out of play. So I want to denote that, like, while the advantage bar currently sits with Mati, the advantage bar is a very swingy thing, and it's going to be even swingier when I can't see both hands. Usually I like the advantage bar a lot more when you have both hands, so that you have, like, a good amount of information, so you can let players know, like, hey, you know, I know, like, player A looks like they're winning on board really hard right now, but player B has the cards in hand to deal with everything, so, like, the advantage bar would be solidly in player B's favor. Mati not taking the bait, saying, I want to push 7 damage. Again, like, Sentinel control has to play a little bit more aggressively. And so, all Mati loses here is an option to trade Jace Mystic Shot for Aatrox, which I'm not sure Mati would have done anyway. Okay, Vayne comes out before the tumble does, so we're just going to get a reduced cost on that. Looks like Mati going to take out the Vayne now. Still 2 form up and a catch, but only 3 unrevealed cards in Sorry's hand means this is pretty likely to go off. The new buff really not mattering here. Like, the mana efficiency, just, like, you know, if it was 1 more mana, Mati'd have 4 mana now. It really doesn't mean anything in this particular instance, but doing a good job of getting everything out of Sorry. And I think, yeah, this is going to be the trade. You've got the Albus Pharos for the refuel. Sorry's really running out of resources. Only 2 unrevealed cards here. But, like, if you go Albus Pharos, Sorry just goes Seratu. And that's kind of awkward for Mati. Albus Pharos also is dealing, I think, 0 damage on attack, or whatever the base is. I think his base is either 3 or 4. I know he has base damage, but, like, Jace isn't leveled, and I don't think Mati has played a single 4-cost or 6-cost spell. So, like, Seratu can come down, chump block the Sentinel. Okay, Harazi comes down instead so that we have an answer for the Albus Pharos. Don't hate that. This is looking really tough for Mati. Let me move the advantage bar before I forget. And this is kind of what I expected to happen in a matchup like this. Like, something like Sentinel Control, the reason that it's not as popular as Jaceheimer is because it definitely has potential to, like, gas out a little bit harder. You're trying to pressure the opponent a lot faster than Jaceheimer is, and really take advantage of, like, the early board presence with Sentinels. And Mati just didn't really have removal spells lining up as efficiently as they needed to. They were taking, like, quite a few 2-for-1s. And, like, the damage push through, like, the life totals have been pretty irrelevant up until this point. The fact that we've got a regen Harazi here and a Seratu that can now come down for the remaining 8 mana is pretty devastating. Aatrox, also a good one. I just really like Seratu, man. I can't even tell if I'm pretty sure that's a Seratu, but I can't tell 100%. Okay, takes the kill onto... This is probably one of the more important decisions here, is taking the kill onto this instead of, like, blasting Aatrox. Shit, that is a blowout. Yeah, now challenge here. He's just, like, damage this. Because what are you doing with this unit otherwise? Yeah, sure. You can block, you can not block. Like, this probably just ends up blocking Harazi in the future. But there's nothing Mati can do. This is... Let me move the advantage bar up more to denote that. Right? That Mati's pretty dead in the water here. Bluffing of Vengeance. It's about all Mati could do in a situation like this. Because even if Jace is leveled, which I don't think he is, the best he can do is trade with the bird. So you just have to... Ooh, top deck Vengeance. Nice. Bluff pays off. I mean, like, that buys Mati a turn, but a turn towards what? The problem is, like, there's not really a finisher. With Sari still being at 15, your like, finisher, quote-unquote, is Albus Pharos, but you've only played 1 6-cost spell, so Albus is dealing, like... Let me actually check Albus's base damage. Albus is 3 base damage, according to Mobilytics, who is not always the best about upgrading, or updating their buffs and nerfs in... I want to say timely fashions, but I mean, like, I know the Albus Pharos buff happened, like, 6 to 8 months ago. It could still not be updated, but let's assume it's 3, so it's a decimate right now. Sari can take a lot of fucking decimates to the dome and be fine. I don't see a way that... Like, there's just no cards in the deck for Mati that get them out of here. Now, I haven't called Limbo yet because Mati is playing 3 formula, and draw 4. If there's an answer in Mati's deck, top decking formula will show us what that answer is. If Mati draws formula... Okay, Mati just surrendered. Never mind. Because the tumble's about to come in. There is a tumble in Sari's hand. Okay, so we're going into game number 2. And this means that Mati's got to still pick up a win with this Sentinel control up against Nora Vygar. How do I feel about that one? I will say, just looking at this, Nora, Conchologist, Junk Construct, and a 1 of Dark Bulb Acolyte are, like, most of the early game for Sari outside of, like, most people consider drawing Twisted Catalyzer a high roll. But the point is, like, there's not a lot of things that are going to block Fearsome units. So if we can get an early... Oh, excuse me. If we can get an early Buru Sentinel and turn that into a 5/4, that's going to be pretty difficult for Sari to deal with, whose removal suite is, like, Hate Spike, Quiet is Soul Harvest. Like, I'm just looking at a lot of spells that don't do anything to Buru Sentinel. On top of that, I mean, like, Double Formula in the opener is really good in a control mirror when Sari's really not going to be putting pressure on you early. The one thing Mati does have to, I guess, sort of keep up, but not really, is, like, you have to keep both of these available from turn, as long as your opponent has 4 unit mana to deal with the Vygar. But some players are just actually willing to let the Vygar sit for a turn. You know, like, fire off the formula, if Vygar comes down, okay, whatever, the darkness is up to 3 damage. It's not the end of the world. Most of the things in my deck have 4 health anyway. Pytos does make that a little bit more of an awkward line to take these days, but that is just something that, like, some players are okay with doing, is just letting the Vygar rock for a turn. So I'm anticipating a pass out of Mati here. Unless a Twisted Catalyzer comes down, then you can go ahead and, now you've got a choice between, yeah, I was going to say Buru Sentinel and Formula. And I like getting the Buru down because, again, this is not a card that Sari has a lot of answers for. Especially when you have a Mystic Shot that you can use at fast speed to quote-unquote level up the Buru Sentinel. Junk Construct, this is what I was talking about, like, just not a fearsome blocker. So with 3 mana left, I don't think there's actually any way Sari can deal with this. Yeah, well, actually, I lied. Hate Spike Pytos could kill this, but... yeah, Sari doesn't have that combination of cards, and even if they did, like, that's half your hand. And even though the Mystic Shot was... oh, yeah, there's no, I didn't catch, but I don't think there was enough mana. I don't think Mati had 7 mana. No, Mati had to have 7 mana. So Mati had exactly enough mana to kill the Vygar with Aftershock Caustic Riff, but looks like they were fine. Just, like I mentioned, just kind of letting that jive for a turn. But now they're going to lose the Buru Sentinel for it. Oh, picking up Albus is strong. Oh, I never reset the advantage bar. My bad. I'm still new to using this thing. I just implemented it in the last video, so this is my second time using it, so I did straight up forget about that. As far as the actual advantage goes, this Albus, it's so, like, Sari has so few cards, right? Like, we've got Darkness, we've got Perilous Pastry, we're going to have whatever this Conchologist gets us, and then it's, like, 3 cards. And there's Mini Morphs and Vengeances in the deck, so it really kind of does come down to, are any of these an answer for the Albus Pharaohs? But you also still need to answer the Buru Sentinels. So for the time being, I'm going to say the advantage is with Mati, because Darkness gets to take out 1 Buru, this Caustic is about to level up the 2nd Buru, and then if Sari uses a big removal spell on this Buru, then there's nothing for Albus Pharaohs. And even if Sari does use something big on this, okay, Hate Spike is okay. Mati can answer this with the Mystic Shot. You would assume onto the Junk Construct, as that is the one unit that is not actually dying, but it looks like we're just going to stop the Hate Spike. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, I didn't realize this was what was being sacked. So yeah, it makes sense to counter the Hate Spike with the Mystic Shot. Good play from Mati. SI Tellstone as the Conchologist spell to get Mark of the Owl. That's really big for Sari. But Vygar still goes down. The Husk doesn't go down because it's got Spell Shield. Jeez. But this is going to be another 5 to the dome for Sari. What's really going to be the question here? I guess not 5 yet, because we do have an answer for the Buru. But like now Sari's just down to 2 cards. Mati still has Formula and Albus Pharaohs.
The future is what
So if this Albus Pharaohs dies, maybe Sari's got something. But yeah, that's not like... that's not Vengeance, right? Like, there's still a board presence for Mati. Sari's not running away with anything anytime soon. And the Vengeance top deck for Mati is actually pretty impactful because I believe Jace is currently only at 1 out of 2. So if Sari plays a Vengeanceable target here... never mind, we're just going to Formula now. I think I liked Mati saving that Formula for the Jace level. But... or at the very least, like, play Jace, and then if something goes to kill the Jace, like, you can Formula in response to get the Hex Gate into your hand if you want, but... oh, that's kind of a rough pull for Sari off the portal. Not even a blocker. Yeah, Mati's stopping to think about Quick Attack versus Challenger. I think you go Quick Attack, because the only thing you actually care about challenging is Vygar. But you have 8 mana, so you can just, like... okay, well, there goes Jace. I was going to say you have 8 mana, so you can just, like, Shock Blast Vygar if it comes down. You can Vengeance Vygar if it comes down. Really, any threat is handled by Mati's hand, so I think you always Quick Attack the Jace there. But now, again, we're running into, like, the opposite situation of last game, right? Where Mati was really low on cards going into the mid-game, and now it is Sari who is in a similar position. Just unable to really do anything with portals. No Portal Paloozas coming out. The one Nora kind of came down as a bait and, you know, did what bait does, which is die. There's been no Ishtali Sentinel, no Dessen Ada. There's only been one Vygar. Nora comes down, but it's like, it's just Shock Blast food. Or Soul Harvest food if Maddie wants to do it that way, but I like Shock Blasting because you can Soul Harvest Vigar. You can't Shock Blast Vigar. And now Maddie probably just runs out Albus Pharos because half of the removal spells in the deck for Sari are gone. We've already used both Minimorph, and there's only one Vengeance left. Yeah, no reason to play Albus Pharos until they've used the Darkness, because you know your opponent is hyper incentivized to use Darkness to try and put some damage on your life total. Just gonna Vengeance in response. It's totally fair. Believe that puts us at 3 6-cost spells, so Albus will be dealing 6 to the Nexus, so we could actually just be looking at lethal, especially with a top deck of Quietus. If Sari just has like 2 chump blockers, Maddie just kills them both. Like, you Soul Harvest one, you Quietus the other one. So Sari's hand has to, like, literally has to be Vengeance, or this is just lethal. I don't think there's literally any other card they could have. I'm looking, though. Portal Palooza could make a blocker, but yeah, it looks like whatever Sari had, it wasn't going to be enough. Alright, we are into game number 3, and I'm remembering to reset the advantage bar. So now we get to see Maddie's Seraphine deck in action. You would imagine that it shouldn't be too hard for Maddie to take this one. Not only do they once again open double formula and just a lot of draw power, but like Vigar is really the only threat here. Like, if a Vigar comes down and sticks, that's really bad. But outside of that, you know, what are you really worried about? You don't even really care that much about how big Darkness potentially gets. Like, if this Twisted Catalyzer manages to connect, you know, once or twice, or a Vigar gets to sit for a turn or two, the win condition out of Maddie is, like, Pursuit of Perfection or presumably a Great Beyond, right? Both of which, like, you're never getting to Darkness levels where you kill a Pursuit of Perfection, right? I think we can all agree with that one. And then, as far as the Great Beyond, you're probably not getting to levels of killing Great Beyond, just because you still have the Spell Shield to get through, and you're going to have to be fighting over other things up until that point. So, yeah, maybe you can hang on to a Pie Toss or something to, you know, get to a point where you can pop the Spell Shield and then Darkness it. But we're at 4 damage on the Darkness, which is a lot. But again, I don't think this is a matchup where it matters too much, and a Back Alley Bar pickup is really good for Maddie. Did Maddie not open double formula? Did I confuse one of the other cards for... I think I confused the shoot spell for formula, so that's my bad. But still, I think, like, just baseline matchup-wise, I think Maddie has an advantage here. And it just doesn't feel like it matters that Twisted Catalyzer is connected. And now there's a Vigar answer being present now as well. That's huge. On top of the fact that, like, Sari didn't drop Vigar on 4. There's like really no pressure being put on Maddie. They might even just formula here because we know that Sari probably doesn't have Vigar. Didn't drop it last turn at least. Oh, does have it though. Maddie plays it patient and gets to snipe a Vigar for it. We're already at 5 damage on the Darkness. I don't think there's functionally any difference between 5 and 6 damage on the Darkness, other than, like, Ishtali Sentinel, which is something you need to be cognizant of. Maddie top decks another Vigar answer. This is just looking so good for this kid. I'm curious what draw card Maddie wants to play here, though. It's probably not formula. I think at this point, yeah, it's either Clockling or it's the other guy. Seraphine, Pursuit, and Bar. That's going to be a Seraphine taken. Not a lot of level progression, but I don't think that really matters here. I think Maddie's kind of got all the time in the world. Sari would like, if Sari wants to win this game, the path that they sort of have to take is either, like, Nora comes down and takes over the game, which is not going to happen. It's way too much 2 damage removal. Or you get, like, you take advantage of your high damage Darkness with, like, Ishtali Sentinel into like Decinata, and you just get a board so wide that Maddie can't keep a unit or deal with it. What makes it kind of awkward is that, like, Nora Vigar has never really run Darkness cost reduction, so Sari's not going to be able to, like, maintain too much. Like, it's really hard to run out back-to-back Ishtali Sentinel turns, is I think the point that I'm trying to make here. Actually elect not to darkness the augmented Clockling and then try to send Nora through. Just goes in for the attack first. Maddie debating their life total versus the Nora. It's kind of awkward because I think if Maddie doesn't play a unit, then Ishtali Sentinel can't darkness face. Something in my brain tells me that they changed that at some point, so that if your opponent doesn't, but I'm probably just thinking of Lux, right? Where you can just Lux Laser with no unit. But, like, getting down the back alley bar is too important to try and save the 5 damage, especially when you have double bar. So, yeah, you just eat that 5 to the dome. Whatever. It's really not that big of a deal. You're down to 10. The next Ishtali Sentinel is a very big deal, but that one, not so much. Seraphine's not a great top deck.
Only a few days till the show. I got this.
Golden Spatula is not a great generated card. But the fact that Sari is continuing to just, like, take inaction, and this is what I mean, is, like, an Ishtali Sentinel here would probably be very devastating outside of the fact that, like, Sari is missing that one crucial spell mana to actually play the darkness. Supernova's not castable, so we take Warrior. Sounds good to me. It is kind of awkward, though, because, like, if you... Well, it's not super awkward, because Sari doesn't have a Darkness in hand yet, and they only play one Dark Ball Acolyte. So, assuming Sari even has, like, the Dark Ball Acolyte, Maddie can probably run out the Warrior, and then, like, Sari responds with Dark Bulb, and then you still get the challenge off, so, like, you probably get to take out Nora. But I imagine, with Sari continuing to just float the 8 mana, that they do not have any units that cost 2 or less, and they are holding, like, Vengeance/Minimorph, waiting for something a little more impactful to come out from Maddie, or for Maddie to go below a certain mana threshold, which is possible still. I'm not sure what exactly Sari could be sitting on and what mana threshold specifically they're waiting for Maddie to go under before they take some kind of action, but I think what it comes down to now is, like, does Maddie hit end round or does Maddie play Warrior? And Maddie just hits end round, you know, has the second Seraphine in hand to deal with the Nora if they really feel like they need to. But Maddie seems relatively unconcerned with the Nora for the time being. The level progression on her is minimal. It might actually just straight up be 0. So she's not, like, you can let Nora connect a time or two. It's really not, like, that big a deal. You don't have to sweat over it, you know?
Here comes Piltover's spine.
That's an issue. And this is what we were talking about earlier, right? Is, like, the way back into this game for Sari is, like, an Ishtali Sentinel into a Destinator, clear out the board while you still have, like, a big one. And I'm not moving the advantage bar just yet. I didn't forget about it. But it kind of depends on how this plays out, because Maddie does have, like, answers here. Because he just got both his units outside of the range of the darkness. So, because darkness is only at 5 damage still. Important to keep in mind. So the generated spell actually did end up working out here. But Seraphine is still pretty far away from leveling. I think she's only at, like, 4 out of 9.
Off we go.
I mean, yeah, there's really not a lot of difference between Sari... In terms of the end board state, there's not a lot of difference between, like, Sari attacking now and darknessing first. Okay, looks like double high note gonna take out everything. Full block onto the Destinator. Only 2 damage push through is, like, not great for Sari. What I was trying to get at earlier is, like, this is a good attack from Sari because now you get to hold the darkness and see if Maddie wants to develop anything post-combat. And even if Maddie, like, if Maddie doesn't develop anything post-combat, you can just hold the darkness. Because there's no difference between throwing a Destinated Darkness at Seraphine and then letting Maddie develop versus just holding this one to perhaps single target the Seraphine later or single target something a little more impactful. And if you hold the Darkness, then you also stunt Maddie from, you know, dropping something. So, like, if Sari were to, like, finish off, like, Darkness post-combat after Maddie passes, Maddie is, like, free to drop Warrior or free to drop the Stellacorn. So I think it's, like, the only thing that really matters at this point is that Sari holds on to that darkness, which I don't think they have much choice in. I'm curious as to see what we actually get here. There's not a lot of fast speed spells. Glimpse Beyond, was that generated? Do you just play Glimpse? Oh, okay, there's 2 Glimpse Beyond. Yeah, 2 Glimpse Beyond, 2 Hate Spike, 3 Pytos. That's like all of the fast spells available from Sorry in a situation like that, and Hate Spike didn't seem like it was a realistic line there. Looks like Sorry really values the mana efficiency of that darkness. Which I think is... And Maddie just doesn't do anything about it. Okay. Killing the Seraphine makes sense. But there's a counter. And that means things are just looking worse and worse for Sorry. Maddie still doesn't have a win con. But a second back alley bar gets to come down. Even if Vigar comes down, you know, there's going to be this blast from a Sunburst. Minimorph is not mana efficient answer to Seraphine. This is one of the reasons that people stop playing this card. And with Maddie having like 0 mana 2-drops and like a 2 mana warrior that they can throw down, this is looking rougher and rougher. And now probably just torn between Formula and Celestial Trifecta. Actually, I mean, like, Sky's Descent is not fake. It is a castable card, but yeah, it shouldn't be too hard for Maddie to clean up the board in other ways. Sorry, on the other hand, like, this was sort of their turn to try to put a nail in the coffin with either, like, another Ishtali Sentinel or a Vigar, and they just don't have it. And that just continues to slip things more towards Maddie's favor. Like, the second back alley bar turn should be your big punish turn, and Sorry just has nothing in hand. And that means that the advantage bar stays where it is. Like, we are still Mati24Mayo favored. Even though, like, Sorry has the bigger board and Maddie doesn't have, like, clean-looking ways to deal with it outside of, like, trading off their own units. Darkness going up to 6 damage, but it doesn't feel like it matters. You know, if Sorry had another threat in hand, they probably would have run it out this turn. So I think Maddie's really got the read that, like, there's nothing else coming unless it comes off the top. And Maddie's just continuing to draw ways to deal with Sorry's board. Like, you can Aftershock this, you can Sunburst that. This is where things are now getting a little dicey. With the direct damage from this darkness, a third Ishtali Sentinel, because this is 6 damage, so effectively 3 life left on Maddie. That said, I don't think Maddie's ever really going to let Vigar stick around for an interaction to touch the Nexus, so it's really got to be like third Ishtali Sentinel to end the game before Maddie finds Star Shaping. Which, like, bit of a tall ask. I wonder if... Okay, yeah, Maddie did take Written in Stars. I was talking a little bit earlier during the like, I was going to say champ select, but like the going over the deck list portion of this video, and I was kind of curious about, like, you know, the singular champion style, because it always looks a little weird when someone only plays one champion, you know, and there's no, like, entreat or anything like that in the deck. But now, like, the Written in Stars is coming out. That is a card that Maddie has access to in a couple of different manners, so... Yeah, this is, like, just clean sweeps from Maddie, right? It's just, like, block this, block this. Okay, that's one way to do it. It's kind of weird. Wait a minute. Isn't this like... Oh, okay. Oh, I see. Transforming the dog into the Ishtali Sentinel. I thought Maddie was like transforming the this into this. And I was like, that's really weird. And goes for the safety block here because if... Hold on, let me pause this before things get away from me because I want to explain what's happening here. Because there was a different line that Maddie could have taken, right? A greedier line, where you move this over here, right? You sump fume this, and then you change the dog into this, right? And that way, you get your life back. You go up to 7. You have a 4/3 Ishtali Sentinel remaining. This dies, you know, everything's hunky-dory in the world. You know, my brain was saying that this is a big punish if, like, this gets Glimpse Beyonded or Hate Spiked, but it's not. Because for some reason, I thought that, like, if this gets, like, if this dies, then this lives and kills you, which is absolutely not the case. So, yeah, no, actually, I would have liked to see... Yeah, in that case... Hold on, let me take a look at Sari's list real quick, make sure there's no, like, What am I even worried that they would have here? No, that's just... Yeah, there's no health buffers. There's... I don't think there's a Conchologist spell. I think all of those have been used, which means... Yeah, so it should have been better for Maddie to do what I said. Block here, change the dog into this, and Sump Fume this thing. Right? There's no punish for that, I don't think. Like, yeah, they could, like the punish is they sack off the Ishtali Sentinel to, like, let this live as a 2/1. Which, I don't think you care about. I think there was huge upside potential to blocking differently and Sump Fuming differently. So that's a bit of a... From my understanding, at least, and you can let me know in the comments if I'm wrong, but this seems like a really big missed opportunity for some major upside on the side of Maddie. Because there's like, what I was thinking initially was like, oh yeah, if they, like, stress defense Desinata, but, like, that doesn't do anything. Yeah, this feels like a bit of a missed opportunity from Maddie for sure. But the turn's going to pass without much else happening. And now, like, I mean, Maddie can just run this out if they want to. They still have mana to kill a Vygar should that be an issue. But, like, if Vygar gets played here, then, you know, Maddie just challenges it. So, Portapalooza is not a great start for Sari. Also, not... Like, they're not bad hits, but Sari needed good hits. Sari needed hits that, like, generate cards. And that's just not happening. I'm gonna move the advantage bar a tick down here. I know I, like, have these little notches that are supposed to indicate, like, you know, this, that, and the other, but I'm gonna put it in the middle there.
That was great. Now
What is Seraphine even, like, doing here in terms of actual value? It means, like, holy crap, we got Trixie Tentacles. Okay, never mind. That's what Seraphine's doing here. They're Trixie Tentacling and doubling a Pale Cascade. My initial thought was like, yeah, like now you can Aftershock to kill Vygar, and that's about it. But no, Maddie's just continuing to get some good hits here. Okay, yeah, Pytos to try and get double Perilous Pastry as the discards. Yeah, those are pretty useless, so, you know, don't hate to see that.
let's go.
Yeah, like, you know it's Pale Cascade, but... At least you're getting the 0-1 off the field, I guess. This might end up mattering, just because Darkness, I believe, is still at 6 damage. So... like a Vygar top deck or like a Desinata doesn't actually kill the Seraphine. Okay, Sari's out of Portapaloozas. The Xenotype Researcher... oh man, I was gonna say the Xenotype Researcher like has potential to like make an impact here, but it really doesn't because of Seraphine. Like, Sari is just trying really hard to put themselves in a position to top deck third Ishtali Sentinel and win the game. And that's really all they can do. But now, sticking the... whatever this thing's name is, the thing that, like, puts puff caps in and doubles the damage from them, is going to make it so that, like, Sari just can't even play the long game. Nora's probably finally leveled. And those are actually really good hits off of Sari, so there's another portal in the deck. Junk Construct is kind of whatever at this point. It's a 5/5, cool, but, like, Maddie has so many tools to just blast anything and everything. Like, even these units are just going to get cleaned up by Caustic Riff. It's like, those are gone, this is gone. You get a Hate Spike, the Barkeep, sure, cool. Like, Maddie has Rummage in hand. Spell Shield almost matters. This card's 2 mana, though, so Seraphine's going to double it. So even, like, if you manage to Spell Shield Vigar, it wouldn't do anything. And, yeah, Maddie just not even going to give him the opportunity. Another portal that gets immediately cleaned up by Caustic Riff. There's a Hallowed stack for Sari. That feels irrelevant. Yeah, no, like, Sari's only chance at victory would be, like... It'd have to be, like, draw Decinata to clear the board. No, even that doesn't do it, because that just, like, gets this out of the hand of Maddie, but it doesn't actually... Or it doesn't even get this out of the hand of Maddie, rather. Like, Maddie just plays Mountain Drake and blocks. Okay, yeah, we are here. We are at this stage. This is unwinnable for Sari at this point. There's no decision that Sari makes from now until the end of the game matters anymore. As long as Maddie doesn't, like, horrendously screw things up, we are in limbo, which, for those of you that haven't heard me talk about limbo before, it is the stage of the game where everything is over, but the players might not realize it yet. This is where the players are going to realize it. Sari doesn't have an answer for this. Yeah, that's nothing. So that is going to be Mati24Mayo taking it. Not the cleanest play from Maddie. Assuming that I'm right on, you know, that whole interaction that went down, like I said a couple minutes ago with the Hextech Transmogulator and preserving the 4/3. I don't think it, like... It definitely mattered, right? Because keeping a lifesteal unit when you're that low and your opponent's really just playing to the top deck of, like, a 3rd-ish Tali Sentinel, that's, like, a really big thing that you need to be watching out for. But as far as, like, the meta goes, the Saturday Scramble doesn't really look like... I don't know how many people entered it. I just straight up don't know. I didn't see any Samira in the finals, which I thought was a little weird, but hey, that is, like, a good point to, like, just something to take note of. Because you can't really look at the deck choices from the previous VOD review that I did on Aegis and say, like, yeah, this is indicative. Like, Aegis deck building doesn't mean as much. It's a much more narrow field. We saw a collaborative set, so it was just, like, one team's lineup versus another team's lineup. Like, it made sense that we only saw one Samira deck. Not seeing any Samira here, though, is interesting and noteworthy. But it's really hard to draw any conclusions around, like, Maddie's winning lineup, because there have been a lot of decks where, like, they'll go and they'll win a tournament. Like, the last Mastering Runeterra Open that we had, right? Like, Ash Garen got 2nd place. That didn't go up on the tier list. I don't think Seraphine Targon's going up on the tier list. I don't think Sentinel Control is going up on the tier list. I just don't think, like, these are decks that you are going to see other people pick up, even though Maddie found success with them. Like, Maddie will probably run them in the WCQ and find success with them. At least the Sentinel Control. He seems to really like that list. So he'll probably run that back. But, like, it's not going on the tier list. I don't think anyone else is picking it up. Stuff like that. But thank you guys so much for watching. Tomorrow, Thursday, 6 p.m. Eastern, twitch.tv/casterboulevard, 6 p.m. Eastern. I will be going live with the Tournament Tactician, and I will be making the tier list with chat feedback, as I've been doing for the last couple of weeks, so check that out. And then on Friday on YouTube, that video will be up. And you guys have spoken. Last time I put it up, I just put up the raw VOD. It was an hour long. This time I'll trim it back down to, like, the 15 minutes that you're used to, so I got you on that one. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Mostly subscribe. That's the one I really care about. Until then. Mwah.